What is happening, people? Welcome back to Scarfey Spurs Talk. I hope you're keeping very well. In today's podcast, we'll be reviewing that Ipswich disaster, but to get me through in what could be another therapy session, I'm joined by a fantastic panel. Firstly, admin of the page at Scarfey Spurs Talk, my good friend, Lois. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you for having me on and deciding to shoot me up fit. When you said, do you want to do Ipswich? I was like, yeah, surely 4-1 win, quality. I'll be doing that. But yeah, well, shame.
No, I'm very sorry to put you in this one, but no, appreciate you coming on nonetheless. Wheelsy, thank you very much for coming on. For people who don't know, to put a name to the face, main graphic designer for the page, behind the face, behind the name, if you like, that fantastic intro, which I'm a huge fan of. So thank you very much for your amazing work. How you doing?
That's my pleasure, mate. Don't worry, and I'm very great. Thank you. I know the game on the weekend was a disaster, but hopefully we'll get through it tonight and just have a therapy session, like you said. So
absolutely, no, really appreciate you coming on. Yeah, it should be a good one. And Travis, all three of you regular on the show, so it's great to be joined by all three of you. How you doing, Travis?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. I think I mirror what Louis just said, to be fair, about, hopefully being a cricket score. Obviously, bearing in mind Ipswich haven't won a game all season, but, come to Tottenham Hotspur, you're guaranteed to get 3 points. I'm not a very happy Tottenham fan at the moment, and I'm sure a lot of people feel the same. But yeah, happy to be back on the show. Love being on the show. So let's see what tonight brings.
Absolutely, we should see how it goes. Should be a good one though, nonetheless. Apart from obviously the result, we've got a lot to talk about for sure. But don't forget to check out our channel sponsors in the Kitman and Security VPN. We thank them as always for sponsoring the show. And if you need the channel, don't forget to smash that subscribe button. It's free to do so. It does help the channel and the podcast grow. If you're listening on a podcast platform, don't forget to drop us a follow and a 5-star review if you enjoy what you're hearing. So, firstly, I want to go through the lineup pre-match because our full lineup for people who didn't see it was Vicario, Porro, Romero, Dragusin, Udogie, Kulusevski, Bentacle, Sarr, and then Johnson, Solanke, and Son up top. Our substitutes were Fraser Forster, Jed Spence, Ben Davis, Archie Gray, Yves Bissouma, Lucas Bergerville, James Maddison, Timo Werner, and Will Lancashire on the bench. So, same start 11 from our 4-1 win over Aston Villa last time out in the league. 7 changes, though, from a Europa League defeat against Galatasaray on Thursday night. Christian Romero, who missed our European trip to Turkey after being forced off against Aston Villa with a foot injury, was past fit last minute to start, and he come in as centre-back. Among the substitutes, Timo Werner returned to the squad after missing out in midweek through injury, and Lancashire, who obviously had a mixed night on Thursday night. He opened his Spurs account in Istanbul but was sent off. Also Jed Spence, who come on the bench. Both of them haven't been on the bench since Brighton away last month, so it was nice to see them both there. Lois, any surprises in there for you, whether it be with the starting 11 or the squad in general?
Not really. I mean, that's probably the lineup I would have played, to be brutally honest. I think I said before on the Friday that if there was any game I'd play the 2 attacking midfielders that Ange raves about, I would have done it on that game, but I still personally wouldn't have done it. I like having Bentancur, so I think they've been on form. But no, I wouldn't. Not really any surprises. Definitely the style. I guess you could say Romero passing last minute is maybe a bit of a surprise, I would say. And Ange doesn't seem like the sort of person to risk playing someone who's just come back fit last minute. I mean, he's not really a risk taker. I was surprised he started Romero, to be honest. But apart from that, not many surprises. Good to have Spence back, as you said. And Will Lancashire on the bench as well. But I mean, I think I'm on, unfortunately. But no, not many surprises.
No? Okay, that's interesting. Woolsey, how did you view the team? Anything you would have done differently at the time? Obviously, now we've lost. It is easy to say. What were you thinking when the team was released?
Well, when I saw the lineup, initially, I thought there was nothing wrong with it. It was all smiles. I think we was going to go into that game the better side, but we ended up looking like the away team instead of the home team. So I really don't know what went wrong there. But I don't know whether you can pin it down on management or the players themselves, but they just didn't really seem up for it at all that entire game. So it's a shame, but there's not much you can do about it.
No, it's not exactly. We've got to work out what went wrong, but more about the future, what we can do to avoid repeat results, try and find a bit of consistency. So no, I think you're absolutely spot on. Thank you very much. Travis, I know you're unhappy. You told me off air. You said it on air already. What were your thoughts on the lineup though when it came out? Do you think, on paper, should that be enough to beat Ipswich Town at home?
I think for me, it was enough. Obviously, as you know, I'm a massive Rodrigo Bentancur fan anyway, and I have been for a long time. I rate the player very, very highly. My only concern was obviously having Radu Dragusin playing next to Christian Romero. I don't think Christian Romero can play alongside Radu Dragusin. Obviously, I know Mickey van der Ven's out. I know he's injured. We haven't got a lot to choose from. But I don't think Dragusin is going to make it, to be fair. I think he could potentially be another Eric Dyer. I'm sorry, Harry, I have to say it. I think he was shocking against Galatasaray, and I think he was absolutely shocking against Ipswich. I think I kind of mirror what Wheelsy said as well. I mean, it looked like we'd never played football before. We'd never done a training together before. We'd never played a football match before. It was just absolutely abysmal from start to finish. And I think the best player on that whole game was Bentancur. I don't know who got man of the match, probably an Ipswich player, but I think Bentancur was absolutely outstanding for us, and I think he kind of stopped it from being more goals. If I'm honest with you, I think that could have been 4 or 5 goals quite easily.
Yeah, fair enough. I appreciate your honesty nonetheless. I think it looked like, personally, that the team hadn't played together or trained together before, but we will get into it. I did think that we weren't great at all. But we move on to the first goal of the game, which came in the 31st minute to Ipswich. He took the lead. Smodics with the goal. It was an overhead kick. Wheelsy, would you say this goal was coming?
It was unprecedented, in my opinion. No one saw. I don't even think an Ipswich player could perform something like that. No one was expecting it, but it was coming because they were putting the pressure on us. We didn't seem like together. Everyone looked asleep, and they just deserved that goal and the goal that followed after. But yeah, I don't think anyone could say they expected that to happen because that goal was unreal.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a really good goal. Certainly be up there for goal of the month. Travis, for that goal, do you think the doggy's got to do better to stop that overhead kick? Obviously, it is hard. There's a danger involved with the overhead kick. He's got to be more aggressive and not allow Smodics that time to think about what he's going to do.
I think the 2 centre-backs and Destiny Doggy in particular needs to be doing a lot better. That goal should never have gone in. That goal should never even gone over the line. I think the defending was absolutely shocking. Yeah, I think they're all to blame for that. The 2 centre backs and Destiny Doggy, as you say, it's quite embarrassing to be fair to actually see, as Wheelsy said, you don't expect that from a team like Ipswich Town to against Spurs. It's just one of them ones where you just sit there in complete shock because I never saw that coming. But the defence was all over the place.
Absolutely. Lois, what were your thoughts on that first goal? Did it come as a surprise, to you based on what you saw in the first half an hour? I thought, Ipswich had a couple of, not chances, but, moments before that where it was clear to see they were growing in confidence. Could you see that goal coming?
Yeah, because with Spurs, I expected Spurs to go 1-0 down. I said it. I knew it was going to happen, but that was before the game. But during the game, I thought first 20 minutes, I thought we were better first 20 minutes. First 20 minutes, I thought we was all over him, and we were dominating the game. We were creating we weren't creating good chances, but we're getting the ball forward. The ball for the first 50 minutes was always in their half, and they just couldn't get out. But I don't know. All of a sudden, about 25th minute, Ipswich just started playing free-flowing football, started getting forward, and I have nowhere. Shami Smodic scored that goal. But, I mean, to be honest, when we went 1-0 down, I wasn't concerned. I actually wasn't. I was like, all right, now, we won 1-0 down. Brilliant. Second half, we might actually play a bit of football now. But I was wrong when Liam Delap scored about 10 minutes later.
And there's a connection issue there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I was the same as you. Yeah, I think there was. I think the second half, I was like, we're going to come back because, as you said there, we're going to turn it around, we're going to win the game. But you could just tell the longer it was going on, and it's just going to be Ipswich's day, wasn't it? We saw coming into it, Ipswich haven't won yet. Haven't won Premier League game in over 2 decades. You just knew the way it's going to go.
What gets said in that changing room at half time. I'd love to be a fly on the wall in that changing room at half time.
What do you think does get said, though? Do you think anything gets said?
I can't imagine there's a lot of hairdryer treatment from Ange because I just can't see it. They just come out exactly the same second half. I just can't imagine anything too big being said. I think Daniel Levy takes the second set of the half time team talks, if you ask me.
Big up to David Clark in the YouTube chat. I want to get on to a few of his comments a bit later. So, David, if you're listening, stay tuned to the end. We'll get you mentioned quite a few things like about the in-game management, Kulusevski and Madison you've highlighted in particular. And I think you make some really good points. And I want to ask the panel towards the end of the show. So do stay tuned for that one. But Travis, I'll come back to you for Ipswich's second goal, which I think this is fair to say is probably unexpected amongst all of us. 43rd minute, it was the lap with the goal. I mean, it was a gift by us, wasn't it, really? If you look at how bad we were defensively for that goal.
Massively. Why is Dragusin not wiping him out? I just don't think we've got the backbone to defend. It's gobsmacking. It really, really is. I just don't think we've got the balls to get the ball out and do what every other team in the Premier League does at the moment. It's just shocking.
Yeah, it's quite poor. Wheelsy, your thoughts on that goal? I mean, we look defensively vulnerable the entire half, didn't we?
Just like Travis said, like Dragusin was shocking there. If the lap wasn't there to tap it in, it would have counted as an own goal. So I don't know what was going on in that final third, but no one was aware. No one was looking at what the Ipswich were doing, and he just tapped it in, and it's 2-0 down. I wasn't expecting that to happen at all. I knew we'd go 1-0 down at least, because that always happens. We go 1-0 down first half, second half we pick it up. That didn't happen at all that game, and it's just a complete shame and embarrassment, really. But as I said, not much you can do.
No, not much you can do at all. But no, it was disappointing and unexpected. But Lois, what are your thoughts on that goal? I mean, it was a gift. It was a mix-up, wasn't it, in the end between Vicario and Dragusin? Would you put that down to a bit of luck going Ipswich's way, or purely that they haven't played together a lot, with Dragusin obviously getting this opportunity because Van der Ven is injured?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't say it's luck. I'd say it's laughable defending. It was actually laughable. I mean, I don't know. There's not a will to stop the cross in the first place. I mean, and the ball swung in, and then we got Dragusin. I don't know what he's doing. He's ball watching, but as soon as the ball has come to him, he's just decided to tap it into his own net. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe a bit of miscommunication between Vicario, Dragusin. Maybe Dragusin just not getting his positioning right. But I don't know. It's shocking defending, really, and there's not really much you can say, but I mean, it's one of them ones where you're just sitting there like, what have I just watched? Like, it's just really what is this? Because I mean, for me, I mean, I think we've always since the days of Vertonghen and Alderwood, we've always had defensive problems. I mean, you could stick us at a 5-back or 3-back, whatever. Since we haven't had Vertonghen and Alderwood, our defense has just been shocking all the time. And even though if you name our back four player for player, when Mickey Van der Ven is fit, when our starting 11 is fully fit, you actually think, right, we actually have a really good back four. But then in game, I don't know what happens, because it looks like we can't defend. I'm quite shocked, really.
I think you've hit the nail on the head there, Lois, to be fair, with the lack of communication. There is no communication, and I think that's the biggest problem with our back four.
Yeah. I want to mention, to talk about the fullbacks, though. Do you think, because some people said they've gone downhill this year as the season's kind of gone on. So, Wheelsy, I'll start with you. What do you make on that? Do you believe that? And we talk about his good back four. I think Lois is spot on, but is it a case that they just can't play together, maybe?
I mean, I had a stat on Twitter. I can't remember the number, but I had Porro made, like, he lost a lot of duels that game. So you have to question the fullbacks and their intention in the game, whether they're going to go full on attacking or whether they're going to defend. But it seemed yesterday they weren't up to it. Neither of them. It was just lackluster, and I've said this many times now, but we should have done way better. We were the better team on paper. We had everything to go and win that game. We would have ended up third yesterday if we were to win that game. We had everything in our hands. We had Arsenal and Chelsea drawing. We had Nottingham losing to Newcastle, and we didn't do what we needed to do to prove that we're big team players. But
exactly,
not good enough.
It isn't, and we could have gone into top four with a win, and because of the way results went, we could have gone third place in the end, with Chelsea and Arsenal drawing, as you said there. We'll see Forest slipping up, I think, fairly unexpectedly, considering their form, home to Newcastle. So that was a big opportunity missed by Spurs. When I brought up that comment by David, Travis, you were nodding your head. Are you in a agreement about this comment from David here, for people who can't see it. It says, Romero persuaded Ange that he was fit to start because he was desperate to play for Argentina. But it was obvious he was nowhere near 100% fit and should have never started. That's David Clark's opinion in the YouTube chat. David's a regular in the chat. What do you make of that, Travis? You seem to be in agreement.
Massively. That's well put by David Clark. So thank you for that, David. Really, really good comment there. I think with Romero, I think because he's depended on so much and he's a starting 11 player, and obviously we've got the international break coming up. I think he's just that type of player where he knows he's going to get played. So I think he probably has kicked off a little bit and said to Ange, I want to play because I want to play for my club, whether he's injured or not. I think he's just that type of player where he feels he's more than entitled to play because of he hasn't really got a replacement or anyone near his quality to take his position if he's injured. I think it just comes with a lot of ego. I think there's a lot of ego to Romero.
Really?
I think so. I think he's an absolutely outstanding player, but I think there's a lot of ego to him. Yeah.
Okay. Lois, would you buy that about his ego and that maybe he wanted to start this game because to play for Argentina, that desperate chance to get away with them? You're mute.
No, sorry, but I buy that. Yeah, he does have a bit of an ego. I say that, but I think if I go back to last season, first game, Brentford away, he scored a goal by a header, and then he got subbed off because he wanted to play. He was in that game. He was adamant. He went to Ange, I want to play. Yeah, he was still forced off for an injury. I don't think Ange is that sort of manager that trusts or is if you're carrying a bit of a knock, he gets you off, and he doesn't want to risk it. So I don't know. I think that I'm a bit on the fence here because unless I don't really know, but what I'm trying to say is that if Romero wasn't fully 100% fit to start, I don't think he would have been played because I don't think Ange would risk it. So I believe he was 100% fit to start. Is what I would say to that though, because Ange he never risks it. Injuries come in and float about. He gets people off. He doesn't. Even against Chelsea last season, when Van der Ven had the hamstring, and then as well as that, Maddison had a little bit of a knock. He got both of them off at the same time. He doesn't risk injuries, so I don't think he was that. I think he was 100% fit to start.
Okay, thank you very much. So at half-time, Ipswich finished 2-0 up when the whistle was blown. Wheelsy, would you say that Ipswich were worthy of their lead overall? I mean, there was a lot of boos at half-time. There wasn't a full-time, but we are going to focus on the first half. Do you get fans' frustration as well?
100%. I think Ipswich went into that, ended the first half as deserved as they needed, really, because to score 2 goals away from home and just show up and put chances away that lead was 100% deserved, and I don't see any other way around it. We were just poor, absolutely poor.
Again, I do really appreciate it. Honestly, I don't think we're good enough. I think I'm in full agreement with you. Travis, what were your thoughts overall in that first half? Ipswich worthy of their 2-0 lead, and again, the frustration of the Spurs fans. There were quite loud boos as there at half-time. Are they right to boo?
Absolutely, but how many more managers are we going to boo? It's happened.
We'll get on to that conversation about Postecoglou. Don't worry. What about the first half?
I think I had somebody say to me the other day. I was in a space on Twitter listening to Tottenham fans. I did take part in it for a little while, but I had some guy say to me, Spurs were bang average. I think we was well below average, and I think we made Ipswich Town look like they were contending for top 4. I think that's just the way they played. And I think that the 2 goals massively deserved because they put 100% in. We didn't put anywhere near 100% in that game. But I think they're 2 soft goals that could have been easily diverted and not happened. But yeah, I thought Ipswich were absolutely brilliant for a team that haven't won all season, and obviously come up in the Premier League last season, and obviously want to do well. I think they fully deserved them 2 goals. They were absolutely soft as anything, but it's Tottenham Hotspur, and I think if you want 3 points, at the moment anyway, we go and put 4 past Villa and they go and lose to Ipswich.
Yeah, no excuses for that performance. I don't think overall I'm in agreement with you. I think we thought we'd win this going into it, but it's a performance as well as a result that is disappointing. Got XG stats here for that first half. So Spurs' XG was 0.95 and Ipswich's XG was 1.63. So I don't think the fact that Ipswich are winning at halftime should come as a big surprise based on that, and personally what I saw in the stadium as well, watching the game.
Harry, what's
maybe not 2-0.
What's XG? Sorry, mate.
That's right. So it's expected goals. So
right.
It's saying there really, if we go by that, then it should be probably 1-0. But
Okay.
they're winning 2-0. But it supports your point, to be honest with you, Travis, about the goals that we gave up were soft. So I think that, in particular, your point about we were bad, but soft goals conceded. I think it does really support that. But Lois, I want to bring you in on that stat. What do you make of that? And also, first half in general, because you talked about first 20 minutes as having control, and I think an element of what you say is right. What were your thoughts overall, though, as a 45?
Overall, as 45, it wasn't good enough. I mean, when we had that good 20 minutes of just like us having the ball, we didn't create any clear-cut chances, and that was a problem. And that's kind of what did us in maybe a little bit, because the thing is with us is that when we play well, we play really well, and then when we play poor, we play really poor. So we have to really create chances, and we have to score chances in our really good periods, because when we're in our poor periods, we're not going to create anything, and we're not going to score a goal, really. So I think over the course of 45, it wasn't good enough, and that's why we ended up 2-0 down. And defensive errors also probably for both goals really is what I can say is what cost us. And it's always us. I haven't really seen many goals this season where we've conceded that a bit down to the opposition just cutting through us and making a really good move. It's probably us just shooting ourselves in the foot, and it happens most games really. And that's really what that 45 was, shooting us in the foot. And we needed to create more chances, and we didn't. If we created maybe at least one clear-cut chance, I finished it, maybe the game would have been different. But
there's no excuses, was there, really? I mean, it's a full team apart from Van de Ven, because Richarlison's not going to start. I know he's an option off the bench, but there's no excuse. Romero made it. Werner back on the bench. So there isn't, we're not in Man City scenario at the moment where we've got, 5, 6, 7 established first-team players out. And obviously they've got a lot more money and debt, but I think that you can still apply that scenario. So, really frustrating first half. I think give credit to Ipswich, of course, over the whole game, but we are just for now focusing on that first half. They're really clinical, took their chances, but really he's a simple ball into the box for the overhead kick. It's a nice goal, but he's taken that on because he's unmarked. It's a simple. The idea wouldn't be there if a doggy's in front of his man. That's the thing. It's the positioning that's poor. David mentioned it earlier. Maybe as good as I think our fullbacks can be, maybe they're just always going to be wing backs and not fullbacks. So that's the thing. I think that's something that may be an issue, but I think Andrew likes them. I think they're key to the system. So.
Harry, can I just add something here? And people, please disagree with me if you obviously disagree with what I'm saying. But did anyone notice the difference with the team when Harry Kane wasn't playing, and now the difference with the team when Van de Ven isn't playing, and how much we rely on these players, or rely on these players?
Yeah.
Do you think it's just Van de Ven out of the whole team that we'd miss the most if they were out? Do you think he's the one that carries the defence?
I think there'd be a couple of players. Probably, when I say a couple, I mean probably 2 or 3 at most. But I think Van de Ven, I think he's probably number one prime target in that, 100%.
Okay, I'd say away from the defence, I'd probably say Solanke. I'd say if we lost him now, based on just at this moment in time, his form and what he's offering. But I do agree with you. Yeah, 100%. I think Van de Ven's pace as well is just crucial. So in terms of the back line, yes. I think I love Romero, but I think Dragusin comes in and obviously he's had a bad week, but he generally is solid and is what you want from a defender. I don't know whether he suits Andrew's system or not. It's a whole different debate. But Van de Ven, that pace, I think is absolutely massive. But we will move on to the second half. 50th minute. Solanke scored from a corner. But it was disallowed in the end by VAR for handball. Ipswich players were adamant it was overturned. Wheelsy, correct decision for you?
Well, at first I was thinking, wow, we actually scored from a set piece again. I wasn't expecting it. Obviously, we went on to score the second set piece after that, but I did see a little bit of a contact with his hand, and maybe it it was fair to say it wasn't a goal, but it was good build-up play. And if it was a goal, happy days, we would have drawn the game. But this is how these things work, and unfortunately, it didn't work out for us. So, yeah.
No, I didn't. In agreement with you, Lois. Do you think, as Wheelsy says there, if it had stood, that it could have been a turning point, that momentum to kick on so early on in that second half, a bit like Villa, I suppose, a bit like West Ham. Like we've had similar games like that. We had it last year. You get a go early. It's different, isn't it? The momentum.
Yeah, it is different. I think I don't know if Hedge dropped after that decision. I mean, we did go on to score still, but I think definitely if we did score that, if that was to count, then yeah, I think we could probably go on and win that half and maybe win the game. I mean,
yeah,
I don't know. It was definitely a handball. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying no referee did a shocking decision, because it wasn't. And I can't remember the guy's name, but on Friday he said, "Imagine if we get a VAR decision go in their favour," and it happened. So he had to call it, didn't he? But yeah, I mean, it would have shifted momentum, but unfortunately, it wasn't to be.
No, it wasn't to be. It's a shame. Welcome him onto the podcast. Better late than never. Pav from Paxton Road TV. How you doing, Pav?
Hey,
You right?
you guys okay?
All good. Thanks. Yourself?
I'm good. It took me about a billion years to get on though. I'm having technical issues, so you might cut out sometimes.
Not a problem. Thank you very much for joining us. I'll start with you then straight away. We're on the second half with that 50th minute disallowed goal from Solanke. Do you think if it had stood, that the outcome could have been different? That momentum, kind of swing.
I'm not gonna lie to you. No, I feel like we just still would have played exactly the same way. We tend to do that though if we are a couple of goals up, and then we just tend to sit back. Gutted that was disallowed. However, it just wasn't good enough. The game just wasn't good enough, and there's no real excuse really. To put it that way, and that's just the harsh reality of it. And I just think it's just poor.
Yeah, no, I appreciate your honesty with that. Travis, we'll move on to you next. Spurs got a goal to get back on it, back in it in the 69th minute to pull it back to 2-1. Bentancur, your favourite, with the header from Pedro Porro's corner. Is that what happens though? When you put the ball in the box, you go long from a corner, I suppose. That's what happens, isn't it? We kept going short, and one time we go long, Ipswich clearly had a problem because the disallowed goal also came from a corner. So should we have done that sooner? Put those balls in the box? Obviously, I want to get your thoughts on Bentancur's goal.
I've got to be really careful how I word this. Listen, right, you put them right balls in that box, right, you're gonna score. We have got all the height in the world in there, let alone Bentancur come along and scoring a goal. A player that never scores. When you've got the likes of Dragusin in there and Romero, you put the correct crosses in there, which aren't consistent. We can score from corners. It's the same with free kicks. James Maddison is well known for putting in good free kicks, good corners, but it's not consistent, and that is the biggest downfall.
Okay, appreciate your honesty. Pav, I'll come back to you with that goal. What do you make also with Bentancur's performance? Do you think, obviously, I think the team were poor yesterday. You mentioned it there. I think you're spot on. Do you think Bentancur done all right in controlling that midfield at times? Obviously, got the goal in this situation.
Yeah, I think he was all right. I wouldn't say that was like his best performance, but I think he was better than the rest, and you could see that he was trying to put in effort, and he was getting frustrated at times as well. He definitely did carry the team a little bit, but in comparison to the rest of the team, I think he tried hard, and you could see that he was, telling the others as well to just get on with it and things like that. But yeah, decent performance. Wouldn't say amazing, but he was all right.
Okay, thank you very much. And Wheelsy, did you think we'd push on, I suppose, and come back? We talked about it, the disallowed goal. I mean, at this moment in time, there was, a good chunk of the game to go, let's say 20 minutes, and we knew there's going to be a lot of stoppage time, which a lot of time wasted. They're very clever. They knew what they were doing. They haven't won a game, so I totally understand that, as frustrating as it may have been for us. We've had Villa try and do it, and they're obviously a bigger team. Yeah, but what were your thoughts at the time? Do you think we'd push on and maybe even win the game?
Yeah, like I said earlier, I thought we go down in the first half 2-0. I thought maybe we could bring this back because we always seem to bring it back second half. But as the second half went on, there was just really nothing to show for it. It was just a prolonged version of the first half, and we should have done so much better. But we had our chances. Ipswich were the better team, and just worries us, I guess. But what can you say?
Yeah, what can you say? For me, that's what happens when you keep going 1-0 down. Eventually, you're going to go 2-0 down. You've got a problem on your hands. Luck doesn't go your way. You don't play well enough. And then in this scenario, you unexpectedly lose. Lois, do you agree with that? We can't keep going 1-0 down?
No, you can't. I mean, yeah, it feels like Conte again. Like we'd always go 1-0 down, and second half we'd bring it back. I mean, we need to stop needing to go 1-0 down for our players to kick on and players to lift their heads up a bit. I don't really understand it. I mean, it's like, oh, we've conceded. Oh, let's start playing now. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, always you got to be the first one to score. And I always think though that when you're at home, we just play a lot better than we do away. And the problem is that it looked like we was at Portman Road on Sunday, and that was a bit of a problem. And I mean, we do need to start taking advantage. I mean, I think, as I said, first 20 minutes, I thought we actually looked like we were going to score a goal first. I think first 20 minutes, I think we were a better team first 20 minutes, but we didn't get that goal. Maybe frustration started to kick in, and we let one go, and maybe heads just dropped. But I mean, it is a problem. We do need to start going 1-0 up. I mean, especially away as well. I think we need to go. If we don't go, I mean, I'm looking a lot into the future, but I mean, if we were to go 1-0 up or go 1-0 down against Man City, I mean, I would not for a minute think we'd be getting any points from that.
Exactly. I think you hit the nail on the head there. You can do it. Say you do it against Ipswich, you can't. You didn't get away with it. You could do it against your smaller teams. I mean, Ipswich in this case were absolutely desperate for that win, and I think worked really hard for it, and arguably deserved it in large parts. But yeah, you're spot on. You can't be doing that against your top teams, especially with the aspirations that we have to win the Europa League. You just can't do that. You can't do that at all. But it did end full-time 2-1 away win for Ipswich, securing their first win of the Premier League campaign after 11 games. So they were absolutely delighted. Ipswich's last competitive win came against Huddersfield in the Championship in the 2023-24 season. That's 190 days ago. It's Ipswich's first Premier League win in over 2 decades as well. So Dr. Tottenham, I suppose, if you like, strikes again. But Travis, what do you put that loss down to? Because I don't like to play the blame game, but you can't really excuse performances and results like that. So what's the number one problem for you here?
There's quite a few problems, Harry, for me, and I think one of them is
Go for it.
I think this is going to pain me to say this, but I think Ange Postecoglou is one of the main problems at the moment. And I think with his, not as much his tactics, because there weren't, as I said earlier, there weren't really a lot with that first starting 11, albeit obviously probably a couple of players, but I think it's that, and I think it's the lack of consistency within the team. We never show up against smaller teams, and I think it's the lack of communication between the back four and the goalkeeper, and I think it's just the lack of willingness to, bearing in mind we could have gone third. We could have gone thirds if we'd beaten them, but it's the lack of desire that I think the players have to want to win these matches.
Okay, that's really interesting. Wheelsy, what went wrong for you?
I don't think anything. To be fair, it was coming. Ipswich needed that win more than ever. I'm pretty sure Wolves got their first competitive win in the season. That same game week, so it was just coming. And Spurs represent Robin Hood quite a bit. We take from the rich, give to the poor. That's just the way it's always been. And yeah, they fully deserved it, fully merited. And I think it was just a lack of. I think we underestimate our opponents quite a bit. So we was peddling on the back foot a little bit. We should have gone attacking more because they were just hungry for them 3 points, and that's what they got. So yeah, that's what I got to say.
No, thank you very much, Wheelsy. Let's hear now from head coach Ange Postecoglou and what he had to say after the game.
Thanks for joining us. Gives your assessment of today.
Hugely disappointing, and I guess from my perspective, unacceptable, because we started the game nowhere near the levels we needed to be. We gave ourselves a mountain to climb, and then second half, obviously we had the ascendancy and enough opportunities to get the job done, but we didn't do enough with it.
And I'm going to ask, look, we got back from Turkey at 2:00 on Friday morning. Is that making an impact on what we saw in the first half?
No, it's not. And if it is, that's even worse for me. So, look, it's my responsibility. I've got to fix it. We've been inconsistent this year, fair to say, and we shouldn't be that inconsistent. And when you are that inconsistent, that responsibility lies with me to try and help the players overcome that.
Interesting. That was what Ange Postecoglou had to say after the game. Lewis, I'll come to you first, Lewis. I listened to that and thought, do you know what? Refreshing, right? He's taken responsibility. He's, for me, identified a few problems in that game. However, how many times have we heard that it's unacceptable? We were inconsistent. It's broken. We've got to fix it. We heard it last season. In the end, we're hearing it. after Palace, we heard it. We heard it after Brighton. We heard it after Newcastle. We heard it after North London Derby about fix it mentality. So, are you bored to hear the same thing?
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's not really much he can say, though, really, is he? Because there's not really much. It's the managers. What they always say the same thing, unfortunately, and you're not going to get much out of them. In the most press conferences, you don't get much about it. You just get saying the same thing because they don't want to get too much into the details or out people or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, I think I'll say this in general. I think a problem, not just for that game in general, but across our whole squad, is I don't think we have enough leaders in the team. I'll be brutally honest. Yeah. I don't think we have enough people to take initiative and just be a voice. And I hate saying this because I love him so much, but I don't know if Son is a captain. I don't know. I love him and I think he's a fantastic player, but I don't know if he's a leader. I don't know if he's someone that can get into players. I don't know, because to me, he just seems like too much of a nice guy. I don't know about that. I don't know if anyone people. I love him so much, but I think as a leader, you need someone who can shout at players, you give orders, and I don't know if he's someone who can do that. And I just think in general, as a whole squad, we've got quite a young squad, and we just don't have enough people. We don't have enough leaders to echo the voice. Because even if you watch our documentary, I can't remember what it was called, All or Nothing. Before with Jose Mourinho, we'd have Harry Kane or Hugo Lloris give the team talk before the game. I mean, you have a couple of leaders there. I don't know. Obviously, we don't know what goes on in the dressing room now, but I doubt there's many people that are giving out orders. And yeah, I think that's just a big problem. And in sense, I mean, I know Travis said it was Ange. I don't know if it's Ange in general because I quite like him, to be honest. But I mean, that's just my opinion. But I remember we did a poll today. We did a poll on Scarfey Spurs Talk X account about how much confidence you have in Ange, and I think the most answered one was 0 or no confidence at all. And I was rather shocked. I was very, very shocked because I think it's just head loss from one game, and I don't think we can just throw our toys out the pram that easily, because it's been the same every game this season. Every time we lose, it's always on Ange. I'm a bit fed up about it, to be honest.
Okay, that's interesting. See, we've been inconsistent this year, and I don't think, that helps already. We've got a really reactionary fan base, and being inconsistent isn't going to help that. The way I look at it is, can we afford to start another project? What is Sack and Ange going to achieve right now? Whether you agree with these tactics or not, I think some of the points that people make about not wanting him here, I get it, for example, with my own dad makes them to me a lot, and I think they're often very good points. But my response will continue to be, and that they are to him as well, what's the alternative that's better and going to fix the problem right now? For me, you give him to the end of the season, you judge him on that. I don't think ever changing manager through a season is good. I think it's a cause for concern. I don't think you ever get much positives out of it. But Travis, raised a really good issue there, and obviously a lot of this doesn't rely on the manager and come from the manager, should I say, but leadership. He's a very key part, obviously, with the transfers. So, Travis, it will come to you. I think this is something you feel strongly about. Could be wrong, but do we lack leaders at this football club at this moment in time?
massively, and we have done for a very, very long time. I love Ange, I really, really do, and I generally wholeheartedly believe that he's the manager to take us forward. But every time we lose, he just looks so deflated, you know. And I mean, you know, I can't stand Mikel Arteta. I think he's one of the most arrogant managers in the league. But look what he gets out of his players every single game. I know they've not been great recently, but you know, he does jump up and down on the touchline. He does scream at his players. I'm not saying that Ange doesn't go into the dressing room at half time and not do these things, because I'm sure he does have a bit of a shout out, but it's a lack of consistency during the game and how he is with his players. You know, even when Sky Sports put the cameras on him, he just stands there with his arms closed. You know, there's no, I just don't think there's a lot of passion. But when you're trying to manage a team that has no consistency and no leadership and no, you know, balls to you know, give him a kick up the backside a little bit, what do you expect? You know, I think you need to get this Mr. David Knight on a podcast, Harry, because his points are so valid and so good to read. Hopefully I'll be able to answer one of his questions later, because I think they're absolutely brilliant points that he's putting on here to everyone. But there is no leadership in the team, you know, and Sonny's supposed to be our captain and Bentancur's our vice captain. You know, you don't see Sonny shouting at the players and giving them the kick up the backside they need. It's not there.
Are Maddison and Romero good vice captains, and now obviously Vicario as well?
Maddison, absolutely not. I think he just spits his toys out of the pram a bit too much, and I think he just feels like he's in so much competition with Kulusevski, and rightly so. You know, I mean, I know Kulu's not been great for the last 2 games, but he's been absolutely fantastic the rest of the season, and probably carried us a lot of times as well.
I mean, I love Maddison, but he's a player that does a lot of talking off the pitch, and when it comes to the big stage, I don't see it.
This is it, exactly.
Not on a consistent basis, anyway. And Basuma, I think, is similar, but he doesn't give it the big talk before the game. So as bad as it is, I could tolerate it a little bit more. But you've got Maddison, and I love all of that. A little bit of rivalry before the game, during the game, the little things that he has. It's great, and you want someone out of your club, but you've got to back it up by performances. Otherwise, you become a target.
Don't talk the talk if you can't walk the walk.
Yeah, and that he needs to me take on board. Pav, I want to bring you on this, the whole leadership debate, but also what you thought of Ange Postecoglou speaking there. Is he right?
Thing is, right, I have really mixed opinions on this, and with the whole Ange side of it, he looks really fed up. And Travis, you're spot on as well. Like I feel like he's not showing that emotion and that passion. What you want to see in a manager is you want to see them on the sidelines, like shouting, telling them what to do and things like that. Whereas there, he's on the sidelines, he's crossed his arms, he's looking a bit fed up, he's rolling his eyes, but it's like, what are you doing about it? Yes, I get you're frustrated. Yes, I get it that you are losing games and you're saying all this about, you know, not being consistent and things like that. But what are you actually doing about it? Because we're constantly seeing the same things over and over again and nothing is changing. So what are you going to do? What are you telling the team? Like, I really would love to just go in at halftime and see what he's saying to the team, because that performance from the first half to the second half, was it really different like that? No. You want to go into the dressing room and say, look, got to get on with it, pick up the pace, sort it out, and just have it go at them. But it just doesn't seem like he's doing the right things at the moment. And don't get me wrong, I love Ange. Like, I love him to bits, and I can see that he is trying his hardest. Well, not his hardest, but, you know, he's trying, and he is, you know, wanting to rebuild and things like that. But he has to understand, from a fan's point of view, it's frustrating. And I don't agree with fans losing their heads and saying, get rid of him, because I think he does still need time. However, we need to see a change, and that's not what we're seeing at the moment. In terms of the leader's point of view, what you're saying, do we see that? No. Like, I'm sorry, with the whole Son, Romero, Maddison, no, I don't see it. Like, with the whole Vicario side of it, sometimes we do see it on the pitch, and you can see that he's, you know, talking to the team and things like that. However, you need to show a bit of leadership by talking to them, communicating with them, telling them what to do, saying, you know, give him a bit of motivation, but that's not what we're seeing. And I feel like a huge part of it is definitely with the communication, and we're not seeing that consistent communication within the team. You see them on the pitch sometimes and they look like lost puppies. They're just like, they don't know what to do sometimes. Why are you not communicating with each other on what you are doing? I just don't understand. So that is definitely a huge part of why there's big mess ups in this team, and they just can't carry on.
Yeah, no, I think you put that really nicely. Thank you very much. You mentioned it, and Travis mentioned it about Ange's passion. I think the passion's there, to be honest with you, and I think that there is a lot of that will go on that we don't see in the dressing room. But I agree, there's not anything there on the touchline. So yeah, if this is style, I think that's fine. But where I do agree with you, the Brighton, for example, the game is slipping away, and you're standing there with your hands in your pocket. You've got subs behind you. Whether we think there's enough depth in there or enough's been done in the transfer window. And I know he's restricted on what he says, but as a manager, and it's on him, when you say, I'm happy with the transfer window, these are my players, I'm happy, then that's on you. You've got players behind you, use them. That game against Brighton's on him. He let it slip away. Individual errors, yes. I think the players lack a lot of backbone, if I'm honest with you. I think they're incapable of doing a lot of things themselves, such as Brighton turning the game around. I think they need to rocket up the arse, excuse the language there, but I do think they need that. As we said at half-time, it shouldn't need that. But I think that's what's needed. I know it's different players we've seen in recent years, but it's been a continual problem with their mentality. But where it does frustrate me is we've seen it like against Villa when they were time wasting, against Ipswich. They decided to take a drinks break. And reluctantly, our players are giving drinks. That's one thing. That's an opportunity to talk to your players. And both those situations, when there were the drinks break, we were struggling. Against Villa, I think we got the equaliser. It's fairly even. That's the difference maker. Just tweak something, say something, encourage them. There's nothing. Against Ipswich, there was nothing. And, you're not going to want to play for a manager you're getting nothing from. You're not hearing anything from. And Ange takes a lot of responsibility, and I think that's a good thing. We are hearing the same thing week in, week out. He's paid a lot of money to do this job, and I just think that sometimes he does get it wrong, as does everyone else. But what he says, he doesn't help himself, if I'm being totally honest with you. But I've got some stats here. Tottenham, after 11 games in the Premier League, got 16 points, 10th place. We've won 5, we've lost 5, and we've drawn 1. Nuno Espirito Santo was sacked by Tottenham with 15 points from 10 games. If I'm totally honest with you, if this appears that I'm going for Ange, I'm actually undecided. I think that, I said earlier, I don't think sacking him right now will change much either way. I think he needs to the end of the season. I don't believe in that reactionary, but the stats don't look good for Ange, do they, Wheelsy?
No, not at all. I mean, I saw something. I looked on Football and I saw 5 losses. We have as many losses as Ipswich do. But if we go back to our goal differential, we are second behind Liverpool. So the form really doesn't add up, and it's really confusing as a fan. I don't know what direction this football club is going in, but it's a bit of a topsy-turvy one, and I don't know where we're going forward. But because I didn't get a piece about, you didn't ask me about Ange, I'm going to give you my.
Oh, sorry, go on. Go on.
I'm completely Angean. I think he's one of our best managers since Poch. But whether we're winning against Aston Villa 4-0 or losing to Newcastle 4-0, he always has this blank poker face expression to the media, and I think that's just the way he'll always be. And I don't get it, because if your team's losing, let's say 4-0, you got to show a bit of frustration, or if your team's winning by massive margins to teams you're not really meant to beat, you're meant to show like passion and excitement, but he has none of that. So it's just, I don't know what to think about that, and the whole like leadership situation. Sonny just seems too kind-hearted to put any words into anyone, to be honest. And I think we need someone that can put in that passion and tough love to get our players where we need to be as a collective. But for me, I don't think Sonny can do that, and we need to look into new captaincy. But for now, I'm not too sure who we can appoint, because everyone's sort of in the same boat in that sense.
Okay, that's really interesting to hear. I think it's a problem you get maybe with a younger team that lacking that experience, and the experienced players that get forced to Davis can't kind of make them captain because they're not in the team enough. But as bad as we were in terms of performance and the result wasn't good, I think we have to give credit to Ipswich. I thought they defended really well, a system they haven't really played before with the back five. Tuanzebe coming back at right back was massive for them. They worked really hard for it. They were clinical. And for me, they absolutely deserved this win. If I'm parking my bias aside, it's frustrating. But they rocked up with a clear game plan and they executed it to perfection. So now I want to get the thoughts of Rich from the Suffolk Crunch, Ipswich fan, YouTuber and content creator, with his thoughts post-match on this big win for Ipswich.
Good evening, Scarfey Spurs Talk. This is Rich from the Suffolk Crunch with just a few thoughts on today's game. Shock 2-1 victory for Town as we get off the mark in the Premier League. I think the first thing we should say about Town fans walking into that stadium for the first time, most people haven't been to that ground before, it was just a wow factor. Then we get onto the game. Town 2 up at half-time through Sammy Smodics and Liam Delap. I thought it was thoroughly deserved. I thought Town played some really good football. I thought Spurs looked pretty susceptible to Town attacking them. And then second half, I think a massive turning point for me is if that Solanke goal is not handball after 4 minutes, I think it's a very, very long life for Town. But then obviously you get back into it through Bentancur on 69. But then again, I thought Town managed that last 25, 26 minutes, 8 minutes injury time very well. So absolutely delighted with Town's first victory in the Premier League for 22 years.
Lewis, we heard from Rich there. What do you make of what he said? Because he was honest in terms of his do you know what? I thought we were the better team. We deserved to win. But he was very complimentary of the stadium. Oh, sorry, I cut out then. Yeah, what did you make, Lewis, of what Rich had to say? Because I thought he was quite honest, but he gave credit to Ipswich, mentioned our stadium. What are you thinking?
Well, at least he enjoyed the stadium. That's cheered me up a little bit. But no, I mean that's the best bit about it. That's the best positive we can take from that game is that the fans enjoyed our stadium. That's great. That is. But yeah, but at least he was honest. But yeah, that's true. I mean, they did deserve it. I have to give credit. They did deserve it. They're the better team, and I mean, I think it's gonna happen a lot. I think teams that are in the bottom side when they come against us, you're gonna stick 5 men or at least a lot of men behind the ball because that seems to restrict us. I mean, we can't play against low blocks, and we saw it a lot last season, and I think you're gonna see it again this season. We struggle to break down teams that compact at the back. And I think why we beat Villa and teams that may be higher up is because they leave gaps where they're coming at us and we can exploit those gaps. But teams that, again, will play the low block there's no gaps in their defence, no gaps in the midfield. It just restricts us playing the ball, passing through and then going out wide. I mean, it's why Ipswich did so well because going forward, we looked a little bit lost. And that's just what's going to happen a lot this season. And I do like Andrew a lot, but one thing I don't think he has addressed is how to beat a low block yet, and I don't. We need to do something about it because I haven't really seen us do well against teams that are pressing us or dropping back.
Absolutely, and I worry when we play Wolves because he had Gary O'Neill. I say a lot on Monday Night Football last year, and it was very clear he knows how to play Tottenham. He knows how to play low block, and they use their strengths on the counter. They don't quite have the same strengths this year, I think, without Neto or without Kilman to protect the defence, but they certainly still give it a go at doing that. So, yeah, and just has got to be careful of that and be flexible with the tactics. I don't think he's the only one in the league. I think Emery's been figured out a little bit lately. I think they're also missing Douglas Luiz, don't get me wrong, and the versatility and the kind of press resistance player, if you like, that he is. But he has been found out to an extent. You could argue Pep, maybe Arteta. You could argue that some of these managers have been found out ever so slightly and little things that they do and different ways and systems to play them. That something you've got to do. But as a manager, you've got to adapt. There's no secret. But I like that Rich mentioned there that he thinks if that goal does stand for Solanke, that it could have potentially been a turning point. So I do appreciate that honesty. But as I said, he was clear that he thought that they were the better team. He's going to really enjoy that win. Travis, what do you make of Rich had to say? He's really honest.
At least he enjoyed the ground. Yeah, I think I think that's quite a good speech, to be fair. And I think he's hit the nail on the head with it all, to be fair. we was there for the taking from start to finish. Obviously, i.e. that's why Ipswich Town scored their 2 goals. But obviously positive talking from an Ipswich fan, and obviously he's very happy with the result, and so would I be, bearing in mind the managers come up from what league were they in? Was it the Championship? Was it the Championship?
Well, it was League One not long ago under Kieran McKenna. Back-to-back promotions.
Yes, they've gone from League One to the Championship up to the Premier League. So
whatever happens, it's been a great ride, and days like this they should really enjoy.
Yeah, massively.
Away wins.
As you said, we have got one of the best stadiums in the world, but if you haven't got players to play in it, what's the point?
Yeah, fair enough. I think they're living a dream at the moment at Ipswich Town, so they will enjoy that win. And to be fair, I've never heard fans as loud at the Tottenham Stadium that I've been there, and after full time just really represented that pure relief, rejoice to be back in the top flight and to get that win. And I think it was unexpected as well. It'd be a bit different if it was Brentford at home, but it's Tottenham away, a team that want to have aspirations to be back in Europe, arguably so, if not more. So it's a big win for them. We'll move on to, because a couple of questions that I'm going to ask that have been circulated in the chat that I want to ask, but also to touch on Europa League, because Tottenham's Europa League opponents, AS Roma and also Hoffenheim, both sacked their managers in the last 24 hours. Also, Rangers boss Philip Clement's job is reportedly under threat, even more so today. I mean, this is so Tottenham, isn't it? We're about to play all 3 of these teams. Roma, I've been saying for a long while, it's all right, we're going to roll them over. They're really struggling. Look, they sacked their manager. Hoffenheim, the same. Rangers, again, new manager. There'll be a bounce. I don't think that would have been easy anyway. Wheelsy, I mean, it's just so Tottenham-like, isn't it? But does it concern you?
It doesn't concern me as much as it should, but it's just, you just don't know with these kind of things. Like a new manager bounce, like we might be their first opponent and they might just absolutely smash us out the park. It depends which manager they get appointed. They probably know, and they probably research it into our tactics when they can. So that it wouldn't surprise me if we get turned over by teams like Hoffenheim or Roma. But I'm seeming to be a bit optimistic for now. But we're Tottenham. Anything can happen. So yeah,
that's very true. Pav, what do you make of that information there? I mean, are we unlucky in that sense?
I mean, it could go both ways, right? That we are extremely lucky and we might be their first or second game and they play absolute rubbish, or it could go the opposite way and they could play fantastic, us being their first opponents. Who knows? Am I worried? Yeah, sort of, but I just don't think that's an excuse. I think we just need to push on and put in effort. I feel like that's just going to be one excuse after another. Oh yeah, they're going to get new managers or whatever, and then that's the excuse that we're going to go down, which is not acceptable. So just got to see.
Okay, thank you. And to end the show, I'm going to ask a couple of questions. I wasn't going to do the questions because we don't often get a lot in, to be honest with you, but we've got a couple. Barney says, firstly, question, who would be your ideal captain? Because obviously we've talked a lot about leaders. So I tell you what, we'll go around the panel completely for this one. I don't know. I'm going to have a think. I'm going to be really biased and allow myself more thinking time on this one because I'm really not sure. So Travis, I'll come to you first. I'm feeling a Benton core. You can't say Eric Dyer. It's not allowed. He's not here. Who would be your ideal captain?
Obviously, I can't say Bentancur because obviously he is the vice captain already. But
is he?
I don't think he is.
No. I thought it was vice. Is it Romero? Is it Romero?
It's Romero. It's Romero,
Madison,
and Vicario. If not,
would you change that though, Travis? You could change that if you think you should be changed.
There'd be 2 for me. There would be 2 honest opinions for me. One being Rodrigo Bentancur and one being Pedro Porro. 100%.
Okay.
Because he's passionate. He's such a passionate player.
He is.
And I think he's one of the most upbeat players in that team.
Okay. I didn't expect Porro. That's interesting. It's got me thinking. You're right. There's passion there, absolutely. Thank you very much for that one. Wheelsy, if you could choose one captain, if I said to you, right, tomorrow you're appointing new captain of Tottenham, who would it be?
Well, I think passion and aggression-wise, it should be Romero, but I don't know if the language barrier is an issue in the dressing room. But I think he is one of the most upfront players on the pitch, and I think he can like address the same thing in the dressing room. But if we're thinking more logically, I think Vicario is a good appointment as well, because as you've mentioned earlier in the podcast, he's very like talkative on the pitch. He shouts at his players where to be, what to do, etc. So I think he could carry that same vision on in the dressing room and get us to where we need to be potentially.
Okay, that's really interesting. Yeah, Vicario is a good shout. I've never really liked a goalkeeper as a captain. I don't think Lloris wasn't the right captain. Didn't strike me as a real leader necessarily at times, and I think it's hard with your goalkeeper. You're right back there, but Vicario, the passion's there. Absolutely, I think his own performances could be better. Don't get me wrong, but in terms of a leadership point of view, absolutely, Romero's a good shout. I do think the language barrier is a little bit of an issue, which is probably why I won't be there. But in terms of a passion and aggression point of view, it's a really good shout. Porro's a good shout. So I think you all make good points. But Lois, for you, if you could choose a captain.
I'd have to go Vicario. I mean, the problem with me is I think this has been addressed. I mean, the last couple of years, there was obviously, specifically Gary Neville would say that Romero's rash and a bit of a liability. And I think that has been ironed out, don't get me wrong, because you don't see him flying into tackles as much. But I still think he is a bit susceptible to it. And Van der Ven bails him out of jail so many times when them two are playing together. It's quite unbelievable the amount of times you'd see Van der Ven sprinting back from the halfway line and getting Romero out of jail. So I think Romero's still a little bit of a liability. And I think having him and Dragston next to each other is pairing two liabilities together. You're going back to Eric Dyer and Davinson Sanchez next together. It's not going to go down well, is it? So I would go Vicario. Yeah, he shouts at players. I mean, I think I could be wrong in saying this, but I think in the Europa League game when Romero was the captain and they go and exchange the stuff and like coin toss, I think Vicario went with him for the language barrier. I think I could be wrong, but I think I did see that one game. So I think the language barrier does affect Romero a little bit. I mean, I've never seen him do an interview in English or anything like that. So
Apparently can't still speak it.
Yeah, so that is a bit of a problem. So that's probably why I would say Vicario. I mean, he shouts at players. Obviously, the amount of times if you go to games, it's like you see him get nailing into players when it goes for a corner or whatever. You see him all the time, and I do agree with you that having a goalkeeper as a captain might be a bit susceptible, especially as they're the last one back. I mean, maybe they're getting their voice heard further up the pitch is probably a bit of an issue. So that's maybe why Harry Kane as well was maybe a bit of a vice captain. He'd shout at the players as well a bit when he was here. But no, I'll go Vicario.
Okay, thank you very much. Pav, for you, who would be your chosen captain?
I have two. One being Vicario because, he's very good with his communication, and you can see on the pitch as well, he's got a lot of passion. But I would also say Bentancur as well because he's good with his communication, and you can see that he has that passion there, and he could be a good leader. I understand what you guys are saying about the whole goalkeeper side of it, but if we can have someone that would put the team in place and would communicate, I think that would be the ideal factor, because at the moment what we've not got that communication there, and I feel like we need someone to get the team together and communicate, and I think Vicario or Bentancur would do that.
Okay, thank you very much. Next, I've got to move on to David Clark. He's got a lot of comments in here, so appreciate your dedication, your time for listening in this evening, David, live. Firstly, he says that you can pick the best captain in the world, but the mentality at this club is so weak, it will make no difference whatsoever. Interesting. He goes on to say, Levy sacked Martin Yeo at half-time. Don't know the spelling. Sacked Mourinho 6 days for a cup final. To hand control to Novis tells you why this football club is a failure. I think there's a genuine question, though, that does seem to come around when results don't go our way. I don't think it should necessarily be when it doesn't go our way, but it does seem to happen. Not saying at all for you, David, but generally. And it is about the ownership and the direction of the club. Wheelsy, I'll start with you on this one. Where do you stand with David's comments, and how much of an issue is it higher above at the moment for the club?
It's just the way it's always been for as long as I've been watching Tottenham. It's just all up in the air. Whether it's a player problem, an ownership problem, a management problem, we'll never get to the bottom of it. But for as long as Levy is in our reins and things stay the same, there's no way of telling. I couldn't tell you what I think is going wrong at that club, at our club. But yeah, just I'm really unsure with this one.
Okay, interesting. Lois, we've spoken about it a lot. Shake of the head there. Go on.
No, I mean, I don't know. It's because I might be like, I don't know if people agree with me, but I actually don't think Levy is as bad as everyone makes him out to be. I mean, I'll say this now. I think he's passionate about the club. I think he wants what's best for the club. And I've said this a lot, and I'll say it again, because I actually think he does. But it's wrong decisions and bad decisions that have made him susceptible to this. I mean, we'll talk about whatever, the fans, the seniors, and the concessions prices, horrific decision. We'll talk about, obviously, sacking managers 6 days before a cup final. That's just unacceptable. I think he generally wants what's best for the club. I've said it so many times. People don't seem to agree with me. That's fine. It's obviously their opinion. Can't do anything about that. But I think he does want what's best for the club. I think it's just bad decisions that have happened over quite a long period of time that have brought bad about his name. I mean, I think the stuff what he's done with the stadium, I think that's brilliant what he's done. I think getting so much revenue into the club, I think it's absolutely fantastic. And he's a businessman. That's the problem. He's a businessman. He's a great business. He's great at doing deals. He's great at doing all the financing stuff behind Spurs, because we're a well-run club. I mean, whether you like it or not, I think financially we're a well-run club. One of the best in the league, I'd probably say. But I think it's about getting that money into the squad, buying the best players, and just the hierarchy around the board as well. I think it's some decisions that he needs to take into account. But I mean, some decisions are just not as good. Well, they've been very poor.
I appreciate your balanced response. I think I feel similar to you in terms of I think you got to separate the two. But I think business-wise, very good. I think there has been some poor decisions in there, which led to increased pressure on him. But I do think ultimately he will, wants what's best for the club. But I don't think that football knowledge is there, and I don't think he has stepped away. I think he's still there making the decisions. I think that is a problem, even though we've got Scott Mine, Lange, etc. I think that he's still at the forefront, should we say, of these decisions. But Travis, I know your thoughts on Daniel Levy, but do you generally believe that he wants what's best for the club? Do you still think that he does? I know you don't like him, but does he want what's best? And can you understand the thinking behind some of his decisions?
It's not that I don't like the geezer. He's probably a really lovely bloke. I mean, I don't know, but I think his decision making for the club for the last God knows how many years, and I'm going back years and years and years when we had the likes of Martin Yeo as our manager and people like that. I think his decision making with transfers, etc., has been absolutely abysmal. I mean, take for example when we sold Gareth Bale and the players we got from that, and how many lasted and how many that did last. I think Christian Eriksen was one of the only remaining players out of them players that we bought. I just don't think. Yeah, I mean, as Lois said, the revenue that he's bringing in, the infrastructure, the stadium, the F1 track under the pitch, the retractable NFL pitch, it's all fantastic, absolutely brilliant. You'll get millions of people over the world want to come to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium because of all these wonderful things that is inside the stadium. I think what he's done there is absolutely phenomenal, and I'm yet to see another club do what he has done. But from a football perspective, I think his football knowledge and what the fans want is the biggest thing that makes football. The fans, I just don't think he's had much consideration for how the fans of Tottenham Hotspur feel, and I think he kind of makes them points irrelevant. Because obviously there's been a lot of people joining up outside the ground and talking about what they want and having these spokespeople for the club and talking about what we want as fans. But it's never changed, and I don't know if it will ever change. And I just think I think we're a bit of a laughing stock in regards to management as well. I think there's a lot he needs to put right. I think there's a lot he does do right, but I think there's an awful lot that he doesn't do right.
Okay, that's interesting. And before we kind of wrap up, Pav, I want to get your thoughts, because we have discussed it on previous podcasts that you've been on. But obviously, a lot has happened since you last been on, as you know, on and off the pitch. So, where do you stand at this current moment about the ownership, and how big of a problem is it? We're seeing right now we're not performing. Is it top of the kind of problems, if you like?
Yeah, I mean, I think you guys pretty much covered it. I feel like it's the decisions that's been made that has caused a huge problem, and just the things sacking Mourinho before a final, and then just other decisions and things like that. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that he hasn't done certain things well, because he has, but like you said, Travis, I feel like he needs to just take into the consideration the whole perspective and look at it from football point of view and listen to the fans and what we're saying, because it just seems like he's not really basing it off that, and he's just thinking very rational about things. And I feel like if we keep on going with this, which we have done for many years, we're just going to get nowhere, and we're not going to see a change, and it's just going to be a cycle, because at the moment that's what we're on a complete circle. We're doing a circle where we're just going back to how we were before, and I feel like a huge part is the decisions, and it's just the things the transfer windows as well. I could go into a whole debate about this, but even things like that, and just this decision is being made, and things I've heard at the fan forum, my dad, he went to that fan forum, and just hearing the things that Daniel Levy was saying, it just doesn't match, and we're not seeing things clearly. Yes, he says he absolutely adores the club and he's making these decisions for us, but we need to see a change, and we need to see something different happen, and it's just not what we're seeing at the moment. So it is very frustrating.
Absolutely. I think the stadium's a great thing, and I think we spent a lot more money since then. Whether you think it's been spent wisely or not, that you could put up a good debate, but I think we should come together as fans, we all support the same team. It's about senior concessions. I think that's totally wrong. A club of Tottenham size. I mean, David mentions it's there. I think it's a good thing that we saved 45 million. He labels here, if that figure's true, on player wages. That money is where that's covered in terms of senior concessions, and the reports potentially about child concessions. I don't think that will go ahead. But either way, senior concessions as well. It's wrong. Is punishing loyalty for me, and Spurs aren't the only club to do this. I think that is important to note. I think it's easy to focus on Spurs, but Spurs, we've seen protests happen at other clubs as well. West Ham done it very similar time to Spurs. I think Arsenal. There's a few others like that. West Ham were the big one that done at the same time as Spurs, and that is where I go. Okay, that is greed, and I don't agree with that. Whatever way I try and look at it, I don't think that is right. But it wraps us up though nicely for this episode. So thank you to the panel for helping us get through this. A little bit of a therapy session maybe, but it's always very good to talk. Good about you guys. Feel a lot better after when you dissect it. You think about it, because we all want what's best for the club, and I think you get a lot out of it when you get your feelings known. But thank you to everyone who listened, whether it be live or after. If you listened after on a podcast platform, don't forget to drop us a follow and a 5-star review. If you're listening on YouTube, smash that subscribe button. Try and get to 2,500 subscribers before Spurs next kick a ball away to Manchester City. We won't worry about that game yet, but let's hit that milestone before then. We can't get past Ipswich to have to think about Manchester City. But as a shout out, as always, to our sponsors and our partners in the Kitman and Secure VPN. But as I said, big thanks to my guests. Firstly, Lois, thank you very much as always for coming on the show. Where can people find you across social media?
Well, just on Twitter or X, Romero 17 season, as said there. But as I say this every time, most of my work is done on Scarfey Spurs Talk as admin. So, like a broken record at this point every time I say it, but it's true. So all my work should be done there. So you should go and follow that.
Absolutely. People do follow the Scarfey Spurs Talk X page for live updates, matchday graphics, all your latest Spurs news, polls, opinions without politics, without agenda. One of the only Spurs fan pages to do so as well. Wheelsy, obviously, along with Lois, very key part of that page, delivering the fresh graphics. You're looking quite fresh yourself tonight. Nice haircut, nice Spurs Talk, loving it. Where can people find you?
Everyone can find me on Alex Wheelsy, whether that be on Twitter, TikTok, Twitch. I sometimes stream there. But it's been a pleasure coming on tonight, and thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Big up to everyone in the chat. Big up to David in the YouTube chat. Big up to Barney. Big up to Jay and everyone else who did listen live, got their comments in, and put your questions forward as well towards the end. Pav, thank you very much for coming on. Good old technical issues as always. But where can people find you?
So I am on Paxton Road TV. We are now known as PR TV, so you can find me there, and you can also find me on Twitter, which is PavJoe.
Lovely. Go follow Pav. Thank you very much. It's always an honour to get you on. So thank you. Giving us your time. Really do appreciate it. And Travis, thank you once again for coming on the show. Back-to-back weeks for you. Where can people find you across social media? You haven't got your X tag labelled there. So do you want to remind people?
Yeah, obviously, absolutely great to be back on the show again, Harry. I love taking part in these podcasts. I think the work and everything you do, as I've said before, is absolutely exceptional. And obviously, I read a lot of posts and what you put about neurodiversity and autism. And as I said before, what you and Barney do is just massive. And I think you're going to go somewhere very, very special, the pair of you. So, yeah, keep up the good work with that. It's very refreshing and very positive to read with all the bad things that are on social media at the moment. So, yeah, thank you for that. You can find me at officialcaster on Twitter. I am also on LinkedIn, where you'll find a lot of my mental health work.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you very much for your kind words. Your kind words. We talk about fantastic work there. You do yourself as well. You're going to create that podcast to talk mental health awareness. Is that going to happen?
Yes, it is very much in the pipeline. I've just got an awful lot going on at the moment with family and stuff like that, and obviously with work. But yes, it is something that I am very much looking to do, and obviously hoping to get yourself and Barney on top with that. But yeah, it is very much within my plans and something that I'm really looking forward to get going.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you very much. It'd be an honour to come on. And on that note, we will wrap up for today. Thank you very much. Come on, you Spurs. Keep the faith. Get involved with your thoughts, as always, in the comments below. And do follow, subscribe if you enjoy what you're hearing, what you're listening. And check us out, along with all these guys on social media. For now, though, a massive come on, you Spurs. Till next week.